Hello, welcome to the Make It Happen podcast, where we talk to cool people doing cool things. Mike Vanderpool is the creator and producer, and I'm Vince Croce, the special projects co-host. And today we've got a cool guy, and I could call him cool just for the fact that he's a combat veteran, he's a business leader in the building trades community, and he's super dad with 5 kids under 10. But that's not why we have him here today. We've got Danny Dymarkowski, a cool person because he is moving a business with his family here to downtown Toledo. He's investing in structures here in downtown Toledo, and he's investing his time, talent, and energy into being on boards and collaborating with other people to really make things here happen in downtown Toledo. So Danny, welcome to the Make It Happen podcast. And let's start off, just give us a little bit of background about you, where you come from, and why you got to this point in life.
Well, first of all, you're the very first guy to call me cool, so thank you for that. I appreciate it. Tell all your friends. I'll try to tell mine when I make one. But no, a little bit of how I got to Toledo. You know, I'm born here, raised here to a certain extent, and then, like a lot of other people, moved out to the suburbs, moved to Waterville, moved to Archbold, but really just in love with the Toledo region, right? Love the people here, love the neighborhoods, came back to the city of Toledo to invest in residential real estate, just enjoy being here, enjoy going out here, and just all the relationships that have been built, not just in the region, but specifically in the city of Toledo as well. This is absolutely home. I've left for short times, but never permanently and never for long. And I plan to be here for as long as I possibly can.
Excellent. I mentioned your family earlier. I know your uncle going back decades, and I think your great-grandparents and my grandparents were of Italian heritage and knew each other.
That's right.
From there. Your mom was a couple years behind me at Central Catholic, and so I've known the family for a while, and your family has a great story of building a business, foundation steel, as you have on your shirt there. Tell us a little bit about that business and what all you do there, and how that actually generates a lot of business throughout the region with what you're doing.
Yeah, well, some of the first things you said about the family history here, I think that's important too. You know, I said I was born here and raised here, but that goes generations deep on both my parents' side, both on the Dymarkowski and Stepler side. My dad went to St. Francis, my mom went to Central, and just grandparents have a long history in this city. And really on both sides of the family, we have a deep commitment to the city of Toledo. And it's been really fun to come back from the suburbs, from out west a ways, and just get involved again. So on the foundation steel side, we're a structural steel erector and reinforcing steel installer, a union contractor. We work all across the state of Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, down into Kentucky, all over the place. We're known for big projects, small, infrastructure, to your data centers, battery plants, not as much anymore, but used to be a lot of that. Schools, multifamily buildings, things along those lines. And so that's exposed me to a lot of different things in our economy, a lot of market segments, and also exposed me to leadership in a lot of different regions when it came to both business and organized labor. And so as that company has grown, we've been very blessed to reach about 325 employees or so, depending on the season. And those are all men and women that I've had a great relationship with over the years and really come to know and love. And it's a kind of a microcosm of the city of Toledo. We're a labor city, right? The trades are incredibly influential here, from iron workers, which is what we are, operators, electricians, all those people. They built the city of Toledo. They built the infrastructure that we have. They built the factories that we have. And so it really is, it's an honor and it's humbling to be able to be involved in a community so important to the city of Toledo.
Hey folks, thank you for checking out the podcast. We're going to take a quick break to thank one of our sponsors, because around here in Northwest Ohio, we believe in hard work, but we also know work shouldn't be harder than it has to be. Let me tell you about a local AI consulting and implementation team, Actual Reality Technologies. If you're a business owner who hates spending nights and weekends buried in spreadsheets, reports, and paperwork that should already be done, or if your people are stuck doing the same repetitive tasks over and over instead of focusing on the work that actually moves the business forward, that's where Actual Reality Technologies comes in. They build smart, systems that automate your processes, monitor your operations, and surface answers without adding more work to your team. And they're doing it right here in Toledo, building technology in and for Northwest Ohio, helping local businesses run safer, smoother, and smarter. So if you've got processes you want to automate, the problems you need solved, give them a call. Actual Reality Technologies, helping our community work smarter. You can hit them up at www.actualreality.tech. Let's get back to the Make It Happen podcast.
And don't you hold some positions of leadership in some organizations outside of your company in the building trades?
Yep. So I work as or serve as a trustee for our pension funds in a couple different capacities. I'm involved with our international union and a few other things as well. And so, from the company side, we want to drive the training of the members. We're signatory to Ironworkers Local 55 and a lot of other unions as well. And so, we've got this great relationship between us where we really have a partnership with organized labor where we participate in the hiring, we participate in the training, we participate in making sure things are well funded. We're the ones that go out and procure work, and that's it's a big responsibility because that's what keeps the members working. And we feel it every day and want to continue that. Toledo's known across the country, if you didn't know that, for just having a great labor pool here. And we travel all over because of that. A lot of it because of the automotive industry, but it's been good for us and good for the city as well.
Yeah. Well, that's impressive. Not just building a business, but like you said, you're investing in your people. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter if they're, at the executive level or, hey, they're getting out there, they're getting the welding equipment and putting that steel together. So appreciate that. You've built Foundation Steel up. Your mom is
she's a sole owner.
Okay.
Yep. So we're a woman-owned company. She's done a absolutely fantastic job on it, starting the company in 2008 in earnest, and then really completing our first project in 2011. So we're fairly young. I mean, really in the grand scheme of things, and I feel like we're just getting started. So you alluded to it a little bit, but the next evolution for us in growing as a company is moving our headquarters from Swanton, which has been really good to us, by the way. We're really happy with that. We've got a great place there. Swanton's a fantastic community. Love the people as well. But it's time for us to get into our city center here and the economic center of our region and provide leadership in that way, and also take advantage of the great things that are happening in the city of Toledo. So we've recently announced a move to the Ohio Plate Glass Building that's kind of next to Maumee Bay Brewing, almost under the high level bridge. And so we're excited to get there. We're going to be owners and tenants in that building with another large general contractor that we do some work with, and we're excited. They have the same vision to really take on some leadership here in the city, and getting there, we believe, is going to be something that drives the next evolution of our company.
Okay. Yeah, that's exciting to see what you're going on down there, because you've got, as you mentioned, Maumee Bay Brewing, the Oliver House, this historic old building, Owens Corning building, beautiful campus right on the river there. They redid the middle grounds and made it a Metro Park down there, and that was the one missing piece, and it's great to see you guys rehabbing and revitalizing that and investing there. You also have a side business kind of, or complementary, the Dymarkowski Development Group.
Yep.
You invest in buildings and down. Can you give some background on that and how that's structured and what your vision is with that particular?
I can, but I want to go back for a second, if that's okay with you. So you mentioned Middle Grounds Metro Park. I want to be so clear, and I've said this to the Metro Parks, that if that park was not there, I don't think this move would have happened. And so you're talking about a pretty large investment and a fair number of jobs that have come to a neighborhood that hasn't had it in a very long time because that Metro Park is there. And it is my hope that us being there really allows the next company to come in and the next company to come in. And so it is that park truly that was the catalyst. If I went to our employees and I said, hey, what do you guys think about moving next to this old abandoned rail yard? That probably would have not went that well. but because it was gorgeous, everyone was all for it.
Yeah. Well, and Danny, what's powerful about that statement is that's one park.
Yeah.
And that's one place. But the metro parks, their vision of going along the river from the high level bridge all the way down to the Craig Memorial Bridge, crossing over and doing the same thing. They've got the Glass City Metro Park over there and both sides of that if that was one of the impetuses for you guys to come down, that's exciting to hear. To like, okay, will that bring other?
I can't wait to just walk out the back of our building, jump on my bike, and go down the river walk to Toledo Pickle and grab lunch and, ride right back. Yeah. It sounds fantastic. Not as good today, 20 degrees and windy, but, maybe in a month or so.
Well,
it's really fun.
It's just about the right close.
Yeah, there you go.
So,
there you go.
No, thank you for bringing that up to reinforce what the metro parks, that is a gem. And to do it down here, you don't think of a downtown area as a metro park, but it's the essence of the word metro.
Yes.
With the park there. So yes, you were starting to talk then about the Dymarkowski Development Group.
So Dymarkowski Development Group, it just, that's my dad, Paul, and Uncle Doug, who you know well. And we've kind of just enjoyed getting involved in things together, maybe some things that we shouldn't have gotten involved in the past, but that's whatever. It's how it goes. And so, we're looking at a few different places, and we had one building pop up on North St. Clair in Hensville, right across from the ballpark. And long story short, we ended up buying that, renovating most of the building. Some of it was already renovated and occupied. And we've had a restaurant go in there, and it's fun, just being able to go in and sit down in a building that you own and you helped renovate. And I've enjoyed that most of the time. It's not always easy, right? But it's completely worth it. We've done a little bit of a few other things. We've got a building going behind us, actually, on Superior. That has had some work done, and we'll have more on the way come spring here. So we're excited about that. But that all just plays into the vision of we're from here. We feel the obligation and desire to lead in this city, right? That's fun for us. But it's also a responsibility that we think that we have. We've all been very blessed. And so to bring that investment back to where it ought to be, I think that's important.
A couple people we've talked to on previous podcasts were one, Darren Moore, who wrote an editorial to the Blade, and some people took it as critical, and it was in a sense, but in another sense, he really sees the opportunity for something to happen here. We talked to Brandon Selhorst, the Chief Growth Officer for the City of Toledo, and there's now some money available to do things and going to do things. How do you see the collaboration and getting more people to think like you are of moving businesses down here, buying buildings for other businesses to come down?
Yeah, Darren's a great guy. I saw that editorial and I thought it was very good. It always makes me nervous to put timelines on things, but it gets people's attention too.
Yeah.
And so I understand that. Everything, we've seen a lot of investment downtown. We've seen a lot of progress. I don't think it's ever quick enough. We all want it to be faster. I want it to be faster. We've had a little bit of a lull post-COVID, but I kind of feel that momentum coming out of it now. Like we're gaining that momentum again, and I feel good about the amount of investment that's coming. I know about some things that we can't talk about on this podcast right now. And,
yes,
I'm telling you, I'm pumped.
We don't have something out there until you say it's okay. So just tell us everything now.
Yes. I would love to, believe me. But, there's a lot going on, right? There's a lot of announcements coming. There are people that are assembling capital to do what's needed in this city. And I think that's the most exciting thing. We've been lacking capital and we've been lacking leadership. And we've got a very small group of people that is working very hard to fix both of those. It's not the CIC. I think that's fantastic. But there's more coming from the private sector. And so I'll let that be a little bit of a tease. I don't know when that'll be out there, but I'm pumped about it in general. And there are people doing things. There are people bringing capital to the table, and we're going to do a whole lot more.
Wow. Okay. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. And I'm going to ask you for first dibs before you go to any of those big news stations or the paper or anybody or any other podcast. You got to come back here to make it happen because
Yeah.
we got you at least. Give
There
a
you
little
go. You got the teaser,
teaser there
right?
first.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's exciting to hear that, because something we've talked about, like with you mentioned your uncle. Here we're the next generation. Mike, he likes to fight it. He calls me the old man, but he's over 50 now. So we look at, and we're doing everything we can. But I look at people like you. There's the guys doing Toledo Money. That are getting information and sharing it and looking for the future. Riley Reynolds with Epic Toledo, she's the younger generation. I look at your age cohort,
Right.
and say, okay, keep it moving forward.
Yeah.
And what is your vision with your generation? What do you think you all have to be doing to get things to the next level?
That is such a good question. So I think there's a couple things there that we need to unpack. First of all, we need participation from you, right? We need to be allowed at the table. And I think what I would tell my generation is, I don't know of anywhere else where you can walk up and have a seat at the table like you can in Toledo. So it's really easy to be critical of maybe guys that are a little bit older, who have been in power previously or are now. But I will tell you, this is an inclusive city. And I'm not talking, from a DEI perspective. There's that too, and that's fantastic. I am talking from a perspective of, if you are honest and you are aggressive and you want to get engaged in this city, you will have a seat at the table. I mean, I think there are people out there that are just so much smarter than I am. I sure hope there are. My goodness, I hope there are. But the way that people in leadership right now have grabbed onto me when they didn't have to do that, and you could even make a case that maybe they shouldn't have done that. Man, I'm really grateful. And so I think that's one of the first things right there, is to have a willing generation in the generation that's doing stuff right now that is willing to pull people to the table. And that's there. I mean, this is a city where you can have a voice. I think that's really neat. So the other side of that is, in my generation, we have to have the guts, right? We have to have the willingness. We have to be aggressive. We have to put it on the line. We have to have the energy. That's what we can bring to the table. And some of us are starting to be able to bring the capital to the table as well. Now, we need that from your generation too, right? We need that energy and that excitement, and we surely need that capital. But I think we're getting there. And that's why I'm having trouble keeping my voice down, because I'm getting really excited. Well, I think this is really fun.
But Danny, that's where I think it comes from. You and I talked one-on-one. It's you can have all the intellect, you can have all the money, but there's got to be that excitement and energy. Right. And that's what I was so excited to talk to Mike about having you on, because that's what I want people to see. And I want you to our generation, like you said, the capital, it's like, if your generation can reach out to their parents and say, hey, instead of just putting that in some index fund or sending out to venture capital in Silicon Valley, let's do it here. Now, you've got to have a good plan, and a reason. In speaking of that, making investments in the next generation, we've got a lot of union, we've got factories, we've got things, but we know the world's also changing.
That's right.
I know you have met Tom Bush.
Yes, I have.
He's got his own company, Actual Reality Technologies, but he's also very invested in moving Toledo area forward for tech.
Yep.
And what are your thoughts on that arena, and where do you see that going, and the connections you have?
So we are probably the definition of a traditional company that would have been headquartered in Toledo. I mean, it's steel, right? Toledo steel, it's glass, it's heavy manufacturing, it's petrochemical, it's all these things that are so great. And that's what's made the city what it is, in Northwest Ohio what it is. And so I'm not a tech guy. I'm not going to go out and create an AI program or something like that. But I know people that will. Tom's one of them. There's a few others out there too that are very good. That ecosystem, from the perspective of someone who's not in it, really seems to be growing here. I've talked to several people who they seem like they're going places. Tom has already gone places, right? I mean, he's experienced, great guy. He's bringing some people on with him that are fantastic. But the connections that I've had with him specifically is, okay, Tom, you're good at this, right? This is fantastic. I want to know how I can partner with you to just absolutely blow up our company. And we're working on that now. We've got some really good things going with him and people like him to be able to take a traditional company, infuse tech into it, and be able to grow a company that's headquartered here because we embraced the tech ecosystem that is growing in Toledo. So I can't comment on the tech industry, but I can comment on tech in my industry.
Danny, you had talked about how you've been at the table talking to some people that are in positions of authority and power. How did you get to some of those tables? What were the organizations you were involved with? And what would you say to other younger people? You mentioned about being aggressive and wanting to be there, but how could they do that more efficiently and effectively?
So I probably had a few advantages, right? Having family here that knows people, that's a big advantage. You have an in, you have a legitimacy because of pre-existing relationships. I think that matters to a certain extent, but there's also a lot of people who have those same things. And if you have those, it's absolutely imperative to take advantage of them. That's nothing to be ashamed of. Whatever you have to work with is what you need to take advantage of. And I think to a certain extent, that's what I did. But so much is just showing up over and over and over again and getting to be a familiar face, making yourself useful. I've been on the DTID board, the Downtown Toledo Improvement District board, and that was a great experience that really, really allowed me to meet people that were doing things in the area, just going to public meetings, talking to people there, again, just showing up over and over and over again. And, we talked about being at the table. Mike had mentioned like, hey, how do we make it happen? I think that's the title of your podcast, right? I think we have a very large figurative table in downtown. And so that's part of the reason that we're moving our business here is because that's a table we want to be at. So being physically in the same location. So we're doing something virtually right now, but to have live interaction face-to-face at restaurants, at public meetings, at annual meetings. I was at the Regional Growth Partnerships annual meeting 2 weeks ago. Man, it's already been 2 weeks or week and a half.
Yeah.
Either way, it doesn't really matter. But 700 people in that room, 700 people that are all involved, highly involved. And so to show up to things like that, even if you don't feel like you belong, show up, present yourself well, look good, put yourself together, get out of your comfort zone, sitting at a table with people that you don't know, and just building those relationships. We're a relationship city. It's all built on that. And in my mind, it's built on physical proximity. I don't think you're going to sit behind a computer screen on Teams or Zoom and build those same kind of relationships. And so, there's no magic formula, but sometimes you feel like you beat your head against a wall for months or years just going to things and nothing clicks, but eventually something clicks. Eventually an opportunity happens or a door opens, and it's okay. Whether you feel like you ought to be there or not, like you deserve to be there, how do you walk through that door? And so it's the willingness to just kind of step out in faith and walk through the door and be willing to be vulnerable, be willing to be, a helping hand, even if that's getting together with a group and, okay, in the spring, flowers are going into all the planters, right? Well, be there for that. And you just end up, your hands are in the dirt. You end up talking to people. And I think that's how those things develop. I don't think there's an overarching structure that does that. I think it's the presence, right?
Yep. Well, and I like how you were straight up about you may have had some relationships that helped you, but now you're in a position, you're in that ecosystem. And now people can come to you, and you can be their entree. And you seem like
without a doubt
very open to it. Like if somebody met you at a meeting or a networking event or whatever it may be, that they could come to you and you could have more of a one-on-one and bring them to some tables. I think that's what people, like I said, but you got to be out there and do it. We could do this podcast virtual, you'd be on one computer, be another, but we're in downtown Toledo. We're at the Loft 419, and this is a place where people can cross paths. Down the street is going to be the Gardner Center is going to be this art center, and people be coming in there. And I think that is just the energy of people crossing paths, being in rooms, and you don't necessarily know what'll happen.
Sure.
But it just tends to
And it takes time. I think that's the caveat there is you can't expect instant relationships to develop. These things happen over a period of years and maybe over a period of a significant portion of a career. But that doesn't happen if you hide behind a screen and don't step out and be physically present.
So, well, thank you for taking that advantage of, like you said, it may have been of benefit to have relatives and friends that could help, but there's some people that don't take that. And then you've also got to prove yourself once you're in that room. When you look at everything that the city now has $20 million to have shovel-ready sites, you've hinted at there's new things coming from the private sector. What's your vision of that all coming together? What do you think it'll take or to ensure that we get positive outcomes in that?
That is a really loaded question, because I don't think that we're in a spot where we're going to have an overarching plan. Just like we don't have an overarching plan to get people engaged. That's not going to work, first of all. It has to be a little bit more organic. I think the investment is going to find its best economic use. And that is the best thing we could possibly do. You've got the $20 million you're talking about is not grants. It's money it's true capital that's being invested by a semi-private company or organization, right? The Toledo CIC. And so that money has to find the best economic use. It's not charity. We're not going to win this thing through charity and through some of the stuff I hinted at before. That is certainly not charity. But as I've talked to a few people about that other organization, what I've told them is we've got some real problems in the city. We've got poverty like every other city does. And that's not to get down on what we have going on. You're going to have that no matter what, right? The poor are always going to be amongst you. But we're not going to make a big enough impact through charity alone. And so it's my job and my mission to smash those chains of poverty with the hammer of economics. That's what I want to do. So that capital has to find the best, most efficient economic use. And if we don't do that, it's not going to work. It's just going to be one more thing that fades away. And we've seen plenty of that. So, do I have an opinion on what Toledo CIC should do with the money that they've assembled? Nope, I really don't. But I know if they're looking at it from an economic sense, that money's going to find the place that it ought to be. And so I'm excited about that. And certainly our private organization is going to do that as well. And we have a social mission too, but we have to win economically first in order to achieve that social mission.
Yeah. Well, I look at the economics. If you get somebody that works down here, that makes $100,000, and they're giving their, City of Toledo 2%?
Yep, I think it's 2.5, 2.5. Maybe? I don't know. I'll know soon.
So that's what comes in and helps to fix things up, make things better here. And it's also somebody, like you said, you're bringing your workforce down here. Now, it's not all the people that are out.
No, it's not our trade employees necessarily.
But you've got people down here now. Not only are they paying that tax here now, but they're also walking down the street to get a coffee.
That's right.
Or to grab lunch, or to do some entertainment, or you're inviting people into your office and they're staying in the hotels. So there's more money going through here, which then raises all ships in that, okay, now we're beating up on that poverty because people are working and they have money to spend and do things. So that's where I think it's that getting that flywheel going in your investment of bringing a business down, creating, buying buildings that people are working on to create more businesses or more places to live down here. Now you've got that whole ecosystem.
And I don't want any of that to be construed as disparaging charity. You have to meet people where they're at, right? I mean, for sure. But my mission is to spin that flywheel.
Yeah, and that's where then the charity is there for those that really need it.
That's right.
It's not a business.
We make real progress that way
and going. So that's exciting moving there. What is there anything we haven't touched on, especially in downtown Toledo? You've talked about the private investment, the collaboration with the agencies and the foundations, the structures. With that, well, I guess let me take a step back. We talked about young people a little bit, but what do you think it will take to get more young people to come down here? Another person we talked to was Cheryl Hardy in the events and coordinating that better. Do you have a vision for that? Especially, we talked about 5 kids under 10 years old.
Right.
There's Imagination Station, there's a Mud Hens or Walleye Gig, but how do we get more of young people, that you're working people and families, the kids down here, so for generations to come?
So I live near Archbold. So I live a little ways out of the city of Toledo, and I think about kids that are graduating from those schools on that side of the city, on the east side of the city, all around. Where do they go? And so, those are some of the people that I have in mind with the question that you asked, is what does it take? And I don't think it's a complicated answer. I think they need good, decent housing, which we're working on, right? Four Corners is going to be awesome. I think Spitzer is going to be online first, and that's really exciting. We're working on some apartments, a few of them, but there's people working on a whole lot more than we are. So they need an apartment and they need a place to work. I don't think it's a complicated scenario. And when you have those people, then you have the ability to do events. You have all these things. That's why I want to focus on the economics first, right? I'm not an event planner. You mentioned Cheryl. She's very good at that. Much, much better than me. And so her job is not my job, right? I need to place capital to the point where it can get buildings fixed up. There's other people doing it, and I'm so grateful for them. We're not really competitors at this point. It's actually kind of interesting. There's other guys that are fixing things up, and I've told them, hey, if you guys just take care of all this, that's fine. We're definitely not competitors yet. I can't wait for the day that we are.
Yeah,
I'm excited. I'm truly excited for that. But the recipe it's known. It's known. We need that economic activity. Everyone wants purpose, and you have to go to a place where you can find your purpose or your job or your ability to make a living. And if that means you have to move to Columbus or you have to move to Colorado or Florida, that's what people are going to do. And some will, move to Florida no matter what. But I think the vast majority of kids in the region, if they had an opportunity to have a cool place to live and a fantastic job right here, they would absolutely jump on that.
Well, I can't disagree with you at all. I've got 3 kids that are spread out literally all over the world. I know I noticed the states you mentioned there, and I know a couple of your cousins are,
that's right,
are in those, and
we're working really hard to pull them back.
Yes. Date local girls.
That's right. That helps. That helps.
Well, I kind of went back to that question about the younger people and kids and things like that. Anything that we haven't touched on that you're passionate about, that you see, an ask, an invitation to somebody that...
Yeah, the invitation is there, right? We've kind of made it publicly with our move that, hey, we're moving into the neighborhood that we're moving into, and we don't want to be the last. We want to be really the first. And so, if you're out there running a small business or a large business and, you really want to be at the epicenter where you walk into a coffee shop and there's 3 people there that will benefit your business in some way, clients, consultants, potential employees, that really needs to become what downtown Toledo is. And I'll tell you, I think it's really close to being there. And at times it really is. And we've seen it. We're not moving to the Ohio Plate Glass building out of charity. We're moving there because we think that's going to be what's best for Foundation Steel. And I'm convinced it is. It's a huge investment, but we think it's absolutely worth it. And so I just want to extend that invitation. If you're thinking about moving your business from, a small building out on Airport Highway like we are, where we're just isolated, we go there, we do our jobs, we go home, there's value to that too, right? That was the right place for us for a time, and it's not anymore. And if you're close, if you're on that line, come talk to me. I'm not difficult to find at all. But I would love to connect with anyone who is on that verge, or like we talked about previously, anyone older, younger, doesn't matter, that wants to get involved in this city. You know, I've got no official role. I'm not an ambassador of any kind, but I believe in this place, and I want to be a connector. I am going as hard as I can to make this place happen, and we'll continue to do that. But here's the thing: we need every gun in the fight that we can get. And if there are people out there that want to be in this fight, first of all, I think it's going to be good for them. But we need you too. And so come find me. Let's talk. Let's hang out. Let's grab some coffee. But that's fun, right?
Yeah.
That's what's animating.
Well, and Daddy, that's why we had you here today. I've felt it one-on-one. I know there's lots of people you have connected with and got to this point, but we want more people connecting with you and bringing especially that younger generation in. Now, one thing Mike always has me do, because he does it at the end of his podcast, there's two things. One, I won't do the Vulcan wave or whatever it is from Star Trek.
I don't know what this is.
Well, it's okay.
Remember how I said I wasn't cool? Or no one's ever said cool? If I was cool, I would know this wave.
No, because it's the exact opposite. He's an over 50-year-old guy. He plays with Legos and does Vulcan waves. But the other thing he asks me to do is, if you brought somebody into Foundation Steel, outside visitor, they're going to do business with you, and you're going to take them to breakfast, take them to lunch, take them to dinner, and then do an activity in Toledo. And you can go outside of downtown if you'd like, but
no need.
Okay, so lay it out there. Where would you go?
I'm using the crap out of that river walk. We're going to walk right out our back door once we move over there. We're going to go out to the river walk. We're going to go down there. We're going to hit up Ford Industry Square. We're going to grab a coffee. Maybe we'll grab a drink at the bar behind below Brew House
and their little speakeasy.
Yep. We're going right back out onto the river walk. Okay. We're going down to Toledo Pickle. Fantastic food, by the way. Someone brought me there the other day. Never would have thought. Yeah. We're going to do that. We're going to go around Glass City and just explore all these awesome things that we have. I mean, we don't need to leave like a quarter-mile radius from that river. It's incredible. No, it's incredible. What an asset.
So you've got the brew house for a coffee and a little bite to eat there. Toledo Pickle for lunch. Any dinner spot that you'd...
Oh, man, there's so many. It's hard, So First Base Lounge is in the building that we have on North St. Clair. We have to hit that. Incredible pizzas.
Oh,
so good.
So good. I took Mike there. That's one of our...
Is that when you guys caused that gas leak?
Well, he smelled it. I said, I don't smell it. And then 2 days later, we hear that would have probably been a good thing to bring to somebody's attention. It's nice that the building is still there.
Yeah. There was no gas leak. They found nothing.
There wasn't.
No gas leak.
Okay.
So we're good.
Okay.
We're good.
Well, good.
And it may have just been Mike.
Okay. Well, that could be the pizza there was phenomenal.
Yes.
And it's just, there, like you said, there are so many great restaurants that I have, paid for Mike to eat at.
Yeah.
And it's
kind of you.
Yes. Well, and he returns the favor. He lets me get a small coffee at gas stations.
I hit up Hannon's Block all the time. Guaranteed see a few people that I know in there. If we're gonna go grab a drink, might get some food at Hannon's Block. Walk down there past Blarney. Always enjoy that. Cock and Bowl's always great. I mean, there's just, you can't hit everything. I mean, you really can't.
But that's what's exciting too.
Yeah.
It's not competition because you could come down here and eat somewhere different every week.
You'd never,
and things. Yeah. Well, Danny, thank you very much for taking the time. Again, the excitement, the energy is, I hope that comes through somewhat. If somebody's listening to the podcast or watching on YouTube, it's there. I want people to connect with you and bring them to the table to keep that moving forward. We'll look forward to the reveal. You gave the teaser. It's kind of like a movie theater.
Yeah.
But the big thing's coming. We'll look forward.
Can't wait.
So, well, thank you very much, Danny.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you to our audience that got to watch and listen to this. And come on back to Make It Happen.